After purchasing a stimulant tea from a Chinese herbalist, I sat at home and drank a pot. I thought I needed it for my energy crisis. I couldn't pronounce its name because I don't read Chinese. The herbalist didn't tell me how much to use, and I didn't ask. After about 30 minutes or so, my scalp began to tingle. I started pacing around the living room. I had managed to collect every speck of lint and ball of dust out of the carpet, trimmed away every loose thread away from my clothing, upholstery. I finally broke down and went back out to buy a 12-pack roll of toilet paper. It was time, after I had worked my way to the coffee filters. And that's when I saw a man waiting at a bus stop when a group of kids got out of their car in broad daylight and started pushing the man around. He looked to be in his early 40s, wearing a shirt and tie. Even through the loud music coming from the vehicle, you could hear the angry shouting of the young men as they had him down to the ground. Then one of the young men retrieved a baseball bat from the car and started clubbing the man's head, leaving a spattered mass of pulp behind as they got back into their car and sped off. It all happened in a matter of minutes. There were other people watching, but no one approached the man who appeared to be either unconscious or worse. There was a little boy playing with his soccer ball. He had kicked it into the semi-enclosed area where the bus bench was. He ran in after it, stopped, looked at the bloodied man lying there, picked up his ball, and put it back down again, kicking it away, resuming his imaginary soccer game, as if nothing had happened. Every time I turn on the television, all I see is a bloodbath, a war, a murder, some political scandal, and then a commercial for a pharmaceutical drug. Then the cycle of programming repeats, occasionally interrupted by an episode of a popular series, with more killing, or a comedy that has no humor, the jokes punctuated by artificial laughter, and it begs the question, why are we so hungry for this? It dawned on me that deep down inside of people is a buried, smoldering furnace of anger, a bomb of psychic detonation, waiting to be triggered. And that's when I came up with a plan to help people dispel this latent anger, an anger management clinic. Yes, but this would be no ordinary anger management clinic. I wouldn't dispense prescription drugs, or engage people in encounter groups, or gatherings where people sat around in a love circle, calmly forcing themselves to peel away the scabs of old wounds in an orgy of verbal expurgations. No, I wanted to incorporate the whole body and the senses. I remembered a couple in Italy who lived in a villa near me. At night, I could hear the woman screaming in Italian at her husband, and it went on and on for hours. And then came the shattering of glass or ceramic dishes, and then silence. I rented a space that was once a restaurant, a hole in the ground. I divided the space into subsections. The first was the reception area, where you would find a table with literature, with intensely uncomfortable hard wooden chairs with knots and surface irregularities, so that the person sitting in it could never be allowed to be comfortable. I had local artists in the area paint paintings of people being tied and bound, another one naked and blindfolded, some being whipped, one of a man who had hung himself. I encouraged the artists to employ the color red in their paintings. I had the room painted in deep blood red with red lamps and red light bulbs. And upon leaving the reception area, you would walk through a short hallway to a thick, heavy door, which I bought from a film studio, so that while waiting in the reception area, you couldn't hear what was happening in the other part of the clinic. On the other side of this door was another long hallway of many doors to separate stalls. There were 10 on each side, with a total of 20 separate stalls. These stalls were elongated rooms backed with masonry bricks. Inside the room was a large box of ceramic cups, saucers, stemmed glassware, plates, soup bowls, salad bowls, dessert plates, and baking dishes, so the participant could choose each dish and violently hurl it toward the wall while primally shouting out profanities, death threats, promises to kill. You could purchase an hour or book up to 2 hours. At first, it was word of mouth. As only a few months passed, more people began to book time at my clinic. And all of these were average, everyday people from all walks of life, all races and ages. They would come in and patiently wait while sitting angrily on the uncomfortable chairs for their turn. Some would even complain, but would quickly be referred to look at the sign on the wall that read, "Quiet Zone," as talking was strictly prohibited. And they would take their turn, go into the stall, and wail and throw dishes, the satisfied looks on their faces from the sound of shattering glass and porcelain had produced a refreshed, relaxed appearance as they emerged from the stall. And they were escorted back to the back recovery room where they would sometimes break into jags of crying and laughter, where they would receive supportive hugs from the attendants who escorted them out through the rear entrance. But one of the problems in running such a unique clinic is that there were times that it became necessary to limit the hours of operation because I was running out of ceramic dinnerware. This problem, however, was in itself the solution. Outside the back entrance was a large service storage area, which I had converted into a pottery mill, where my clients could purchase classes to learn how to make the ceramic plates they were breaking. We had a glass blower expert teaching people how to blow decorative and ornate stemware for wines and other beverages. We had a few large kilns to bake the ceramics, ranging from terracotta to porcelain. Since we had previously been throwing away the broken remnants left behind, it was both brilliant and bold to recycle these broken pieces in a micropulverizing machine that converted the broken fragments into a reusable powder to refabricate the broken dishes. In the stalls, I built a conveyor belt system behind a low retaining wall inside the stall that redirected the broken pieces to be transported along the entire length of the side of the clinic out to a collection trough to be collected for pulverization. Completely sustainable and environmentally friendly. So the clinic and its goal to not only express violent outbursts of repressed anger, but to fully integrate a healing, self-help support system. I stocked our new art center with assorted organic glazes and paints so that clients were encouraged to paint portraits of themselves on the dinnerware that they would later either be displayed at home or in the clinic, or kept as a symbolic object of self-hatred to be broken again, to be put back together by the client. The concept, brilliant. The goal, beautiful. People who were once ticking time bombs became creative, artistic, and wholesome people who no longer had displaced anger, but rather anger placement, a safe haven in which they could exploit their own vitriolic potential to kill, maim, abuse, and murder into art and a deep sense of fulfillment that had long been sought after, never cured, nor harnessed. So what was once known to be an unorthodox, fringe, and bizarre form of exploitation of other people's pathos became the envy of practicing psychologists whose patients were coming into their sessions expressing the need to be taken off of their medications, demanding to display their self-portrait pottery in their office reception areas, appearing to have less problems, less complaints, less for the psychologists to do for their patients who were transformed by my clinic. This is when I got wind of the complaints. I began receiving notices from the city council people about complaints of hazardous conditions and noise. Soon after came notices of changes in zoning laws, restricting the hours of operating my clinic. During a closed-door town hall meeting, I was told that the practicing psychologists were losing patients, and this angered them to the extent that an effort was afoot to have my clinic shut down, that I was considered a threat by the Chamber of Commerce, and that my license to operate would be revoked. But I ignored the cheap pettiness of their complaints. I even sent out special Groupon offers to attend my clinic to help the psychoanalyst and psychiatric community with their unresolved anger about my anger management system. To no avail. One night, the place was surrounded by circling helicopters and an armed SWAT detail that had been dispatched with a battering ram vehicle to bulldoze through the clinic's main entrance, a very destructive and flagrant excessive abuse of authority. So I ended my dream, what little I achieved in making the world a better place by affording people the opportunity to rebuild themselves, to work together, to create meaning and beauty in their lives, a way to prosper and grow. To recognize that anger can be an ally and an energy of great creative potential. And all of this was replaced by the idea that a pill was going to make the world a better, safer place. That a populace placed in a trance of drug-induced bovine placidity was going to make the world turn.
Behold, O ye sheep-herders of mucky meekness, the word of thy Lord. Report to thy nearest sphincter site for active beastie thrust duties, shoving slimy skinny fours into sheepy shit scientificum no-nos.
Ribby-rammed Bobo with that shit shovel and saliva slurping its pointed pirouette in perfection.
Be still, O my mondo mams of Mastek Mama, O titty siphon of the world. Be still, O my bud tasties, love testes, und schlangi von fliciditus de inflamo.
This is Peter Tolkien, The Man Next Door. This edition of The Man Next Door was produced in collaboration with Chris Parker and Mr. Del Mar, with recording, engineering, editing, and music looping by Mr. Del Mar. Special thanks to Patricia Montana and Bonnie Montrose. The Man Next Door will air again with a selected rebroadcast.